Hi everyone, it's Momomochi, and today I'm going to teach you a very useful and very important Japanese grammar point, the te form. Before watching this lesson, it's important that you already have a basic understanding of how Japanese verbs conjugate. So let's get started. The way you conjugate into te form all depends on what type of ending the verb has. Well, there are two types of verbs in Japanese, ru verbs and u verbs. Putting ru verbs into the te form is actually quite easy. For example, okiru becomes okite. There are a few exceptions where a verb ending in ru could actually be an u verb, but generally this is the rule you can use to conjugate ru verbs into the te form. U verbs, however, are a bit more complex and have several different rules for conjugating into the te form. So let's get started on a few of those rules. If the u verb ends in u, tsu, or sometimes ru, you will take off the ending and add te. For example, kau, katte, matsu, matte, aru, atte. U verbs that end in mu, bu, or nu will take off the ending and add nde as a te form. For example, tanoshimu, tanoshinde, sakebu, sakende, shinu, shinde. U verbs ending in ku will take off the ending and add ite. For example, hiku, hiite. U verbs ending in gu is very similar to the previous example. Take off gu and add ide. For example, isogu, isoide. And lastly, u verbs ending in su become shite. For example, kowasu, kowashite. There are two additional irregular verbs, suru and kuru. Suru becomes shite. Kuru becomes kite. Now, after all of that, you're probably wondering how on earth am I going to remember all of those rules when conjugating to the te form? Well, it's a good thing you don't have to, because there's a catchy song that tells you how to conjugate them. And unfortunately, I'm going to sing it for you, in hopes that it will get stuck in your head and that you'll always remember all the rules when you're conjugating te form.
あってまつまってとるとって読む読んで遊ぶ遊んで死ぬ死んで書く書いて消す消して急ぐ急いでみんなバブテフォーム映るってムンブヌンで食いて食いで映るってムンブヌンで食いて食いで映るってムンブヌンで食いて食いでそしてゆバブテフォーム
If you break down these songs' lyrics, you can look at each verb's ending and how they are made into the te form. Then you can apply that to other verbs with the same endings and know how to conjugate them into the te form. Just make sure you know whether it is a ru verb or an u verb. As I mentioned before, there are still a few exceptions. However, memorizing this song will greatly expand your te form conjugating skills. Now that we know how to conjugate verbs into the te form, let's look at some uses that te form has in the Japanese language. There are several uses that te form has in Japanese, but today I'm going to show you 3 of the most commonly used te form grammar points. Before we dive in on how to use the te form, it's important that you understand that te form does not have a tense. Today we will look at these 3 uses: telling someone to do something, asking someone to do something, and describing 2 activities in the same sentence. So let's begin with the first point. When you want to tell someone to do something, you use the te form of the verb plus kudasai. For example, kutsu o nuide kudasai. This verb, nugu, ends in gu, and if we remember the song, gu becomes ide, so nugu becomes nuide. Kutsu o nuide kudasai. This type of request can be from one person to another or as an announcement to many people. Next point, asking permission to do something. For this type of request, you will use the te form of a verb plus moi desu ka. Notice that this ends in ka, indicating that it is a question. In this usage, you are asking, may I? It is very polite. So maybe you want to know if it's okay to borrow someone's pen. You can say, pen o karite mo ii desu ka? You can also use this same point to tell someone that they may do something. Just remove the ka at the end. So, obviously, we conjugate a verb when we use it in a sentence, unless we are speaking informally. For example, we can say these two sentences to describe what we will do. コンビニに行きます。そして公園に散歩します。But what if I wanted to use one sentence to say both of these actions? This is another useful tactic for te form. In order to use both verbs in the same sentence, the first verb conjugates to the te form. The second verb will stay normal in the mas form. So we can combine these two sentences into one and say コンビニに行って公園に散歩します。While conjugating into the te form can seem very tricky at first, the more you practice doing it, the easier it will become. And soon, you'll be able to speak using the te form with no problems. So that's all I have for you today, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more Japanese lessons and Japan-related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!